Hello. I'm a mother of a child in my 40s. I was raised in an average family. My dad ran a little grocery store in the neighborhood, and my mom was a domestic worker. I got along well with my friends at school and did pretty well academically. I was never ashamed of what my parents did. We weren't doing bad financially, and really I never felt we were short of anything. My friends slept over at my house, and they bought things from my dad's store. I was just a happy child on very regular days. But there was one incident that shook my everyday happiness. As I did pretty well at school, I got into a business administration department of a respected university, but I never thought I absolutely had to do anything related to my major. So, I didn't have pressure for A+, but enjoyed my life in university just like any university student does. And in my junior year, I got to know a senior who came back from his military service. He asked me out one day, even though we only met a couple of times at department gatherings. "Molly, I think you're a pretty good person. Would you go out with me? You won't regret it. What do you like about me? You barely know me. You're always confident even though you're not, particularly from a good background. And you're doing pretty well academically and have a pretty decent style." His answer was a bit absurd, but I also thought he was a little cute, because he didn't look so picky and honest. So we started dating, and we broke up when I was busy looking for a job. I mean, not just that, but what he said at that time also made me angry too. "I like most things about you, but you look so desperate when you are so obsessed with making money. You don't have to advertise that your family is not doing so great. What's wrong with my family? We are fine. We have what we need. And however the family is doing, a person needs to work to live." No, that's not true. Look at the people in our department. There are not many people who are from a family that isn't doing so well. Be honest. I know you feel pressured even though you don't make it obvious, but don't you? I cut him off that very day. I know most of my friends who major in business administration are from a family that is well off. But there were more people from an ordinary family like me, but I guess he couldn't see it. I didn't want to talk to someone who hurt me with such a thing. And I didn't have time to argue about it either. I worked hard to get a job and finally got into the planning team of a famous company. My friends and family all congratulated me. My friend and I had a small party. And I don't know how he knew about it, but he came to the party. Now that you have a job, you have time, right? I've cut you some slack for a pretty long time now. From now on, pick up the phone when I call you. What are you talking about? We are done. Didn't you know? How can I date a person who looks down on me so much? I sure didn't have time to date, but I still don't intend to meet you again. After what you've done to me, he kept coming back to me after that day. When he realized I was very determined, he finally apologized. "I didn't know you'd take it so seriously. You know, I'm not the type of person who thinks so much before I talk. I didn't mean to hurt you. Please forgive me. I've been waiting for you all this time." His apology sounded sincere, and I started to feel better. I thought he was being honest about his feelings as he waited for me until then. So we dated again. I graduated from university, and I began working at a company. He continued his studies for the exam to get into a master's program in the UK. As a rookie, I had so much to learn at work. For a while I worked until late. Naturally, I had less time to go on a date with him. Then he began to get angry about it. "Do you love your work so much? How can you not have any time to meet me for the entire week? How can you call yourself my girlfriend if we don't even meet?" I have no choice. I'm new, so I have so much to learn. It's not like I'm not making any time. I literally don't have time. I tried to convince him, but he never understood me. Then he began to come to the company around 6 p.m. and waited for me to come out of the lobby. I thought he was doing this because he loved me very much. So we had a long talk, and I promised him I would make time for him at least once a week. I didn't want him to wait for me instead of studying. I also thought we would eventually break up when he moved to the UK. I had my job and life here, but he thought that I was going with him. I told him I was not planning to. "What are you talking about? Why would I date someone who doesn't understand my priorities and commitments? Why would I date you if you were not coming with me? You're so weird. So you're going out knowing the end? If you go to the UK, isn't it obvious that we'd break up? Don't you think? I have to think about many options. We never know what's gonna happen, you know? No, you're coming with me for sure. I'm very disappointed you were thinking that way. I still wondered if it was right for me to give up my life and follow him to the UK. Half of my friends were like me, and her other half thought differently. Some of my friends told me I could also study there, and some said I shouldn't go if I'm not sure about my boyfriend. But my parents wanted me to go to the UK. My mom especially thought it was a great chance for me. I heard living abroad can be an excellent advantage for a person. You never had a chance to go on a study abroad program at the university. It's such a great opportunity. I wish you could get out there and experience the world, rather than have a hard time working at a company. She enthusiastically supported marrying him. I guess I also thought I wanted to live in a foreign country. Eventually, I decided to go to the UK with him and began preparing for the wedding. My in-laws suggested that I live with them as we'd leave for the UK shortly after the wedding, instead of getting our new house. The mother-in-law looked nice, but it seemed like she was hiding her true intentions. So I didn't want to live with her. George, I'm okay with everything else, but I'm not really into the idea of living with your family. And as I'll be working until we move to the UK, I just want to feel at ease after work. Would that be okay? I insisted, and we eventually got a small house as I wanted. Instead, I decided to pay the rent. My parents didn't like it, but I said it was okay as it was me who wanted to have a house of our own. My husband's family earned money from real estate investments, and his parents tried hard to ensure their children received a good education. I heard my husband's brother and his wife graduated from prestigious universities and studied abroad for years. In fact, my mother-in-law liked me because I also graduated from a prestigious university. However, she openly ignored my parents. On the day we visited my husband's parents after our honeymoon, she said, "Don't think about giving anything to your parents. I accepted you as my daughter-in-law because I liked you, not your family. Make sure they also know that they are not getting a penny from us." Tina, why would my family ask you for money? That would never happen. We have enough money to feed ourselves. After what I said, all my parents-in-law and husband-in-law giggled. Not even the money you earned. I don't know what you think, but since you are married now, they are not your immediate family. Then, they shouldn't expect anything from you. Like you said, they have enough money for themselves, but they wouldn't need your money, right? I just hope you keep that in mind. She was surely being sarcastic, and I was offended. For the entire time we were at the in-laws, I didn't say a thing with an uncomfortable look on my face. But my husband didn't seem to notice it. He was busy talking and eating. When we got back home, I told my husband that his mother's words offended me. But he said, "But she didn't say anything wrong, though." Why are you offended? Your anger comes from your sense of inferiority. Just admit the fact. Then you won't feel offended. I mean, it's true that your family is financially difficult. We are doing well. We are not as well off as your family, but it's not as if I would feel ashamed or something. I don't understand why you and your family look down on my family so much. Who are you calling your family? Your family is here now. And why are you stubborn when they are only running a small village store? That makes you look more desperate. Don't be like that. No matter what anyone says, you're embarrassing me. Why did you marry me if you felt so embarrassed then? I just liked you. Haven't you heard my mom? She liked you. I do too. I never thought I would regret my marriage on the first day we were back from our honeymoon. I've never imagined that they would ignore my family this much. And the mother-in-law's nagging didn't end there. She sometimes sent me dishes, like ribs or abalone, and when she heard that my mom had visited our house, she came and checked how much side dishes were left. How come you only have these abalones? Did George eat them all? Did you have the octopus? Did your mom have them? Hey, we only use high-quality ingredients for our kimchi. You should know that. You can't give them to your mom. It's not the kimchi you share with anyone. I couldn't listen to it anymore, so I said, "Tina, thank you for bringing us delicious and healthy food, but we'll make our own food from now on. But I'm really grateful for your thought. How can you cook when you also have to work?" I heard you don't even have time for cleaning. Don't you like the food by any chance? No, it's not like that. We should get used to it so we can adjust well in the UK too. My mother-in-law looked displeased, but she said she understood. But when my husband got home from his study, he got angry at me. Do you enjoy overcoming hardships? Why should we cook for ourselves? You should just be thankful that my mom is bringing the food that you can't even imagine cooking. But I heard you told her not to bring anything from now on. Why would you make that decision without talking with me? She's bringing the food, but she nags too much about it. She checks how much food is left after my mom visits me. Isn't that too much, really? I didn't tell you because it was hurting my self-esteem. I don't want food if I have to go through all that. What about now? What should I eat? My mom has done that because she uses expensive and high-quality ingredients, so she wants to make sure I eat them. Why are you so sensitive? This is why people say you have to marry a person with a similar level. What did you say? You keep talking about levels, but what's so great about your family? You just gambled in real estate and won money from it. What? Gamble? Is that how you thought about my parents all this time? I'm saying this because you're judging my family so much. What's there to be so proud of? My husband and I had a big fight that night. We slept in separate rooms and didn't talk for a while. Then, my husband's birthday approached, so I started talking to him again while preparing for his birthday party. I wanted to make sure he felt good, as it was his first birthday after we got married. I got him the watch he had wanted to have for a long time and decided to make food on my own. But as I didn't have much cooking experience, I was clumsy. I called my mom and told her I was having difficulties making the food, and she insisted that she would come and help. It's okay, Mom. You cook so much food for us whenever we visit. You don't have to come all the way down here to cook. It's too much. I'm okay. Who's gonna cook for the son-in-law's birthday if their mother-in-law doesn't? My mom came to my house a day before the birthday and helped me prepare the food. And on his birthday, she brought marinated ribs that she had made. My mom and I were preparing food in time for the guests to come. Then my mother-in-law came to the house. She put down the food wrapped in gold cloth and said, how come you are here? I didn't know you were coming. I didn't know you were coming either, Tina. My mom came to help me prepare the food. She had a bitter look on her face and put out the food she had brought. Soon after, my husband and his friends came home. My mom and I put the food on the table. When my mom put her marinated ribs on the table, my mother-in-law removed them from the table and put them on the floor. Don't put this on, she said, and get out of the way. Then, she put her short-ribbed pate she brought in the center of the table. My mom quickly moved to the kitchen as her face turned red from embarrassment. I was so dumbfounded that I stood in the same spot for a long time. My mother-in-law and my husband were busy talking and eating with people, as if they couldn't even see me. My husband didn't bother to introduce me to his friends. Only then did I realize what I meant to my husband and the in-laws. I pulled myself together, took off my apron, grabbed my mom's arm, and left the house. My mom followed me without saying anything. When I arrived at my parents', I went into a room and cried my eyes out. My parents just looked at me without saying anything. When I told my parents that I would get divorced, they didn't hesitate a second to tell me to do so. It turned out that my mother-in-law had called my parents several times and told them not to think about taking money from them through me. I was so upset and angry and even more furious because there was no way I could pay them back. In the meantime, my husband only said things that would upset me even more. I also think your mom didn't have any sense. How could she serve cheap marinated ribs to the guests? My mom can't stand things like that. Are you really gonna divorce me, by the way? My husband asked. Divorce is actually worse for you, right? I'm a guy, and it's only been a month, so I'll be alright. But you're a woman, so it's different. Don't make a hasty mistake and think again. The biggest mistake of my life was meeting and marrying you, he continued. I'm so done with you, even though that means I'll never be able to get married again. We divorced, but I couldn't get much alimony as my husband's family had hired expensive lawyers. I was upset again, but I thought it was good enough that I got to cut him off. I began working at an investment company that one of my university friends was running. I worked very hard for 5 years, not thinking about anything else but work. With hard work, I was able to be recognized by the company. And I also got a romantic proposal from a lawyer who worked at a law firm in charge of our company's legal affairs. His wife passed away a few years ago, and he knew I was divorced. Even though it was such a short marriage because I had the worst memory ever, I hesitated to accept his proposal. But he persuaded me so faithfully, and when I met his mother, I was convinced that they were good people. So I decided to marry him. After 2 years of marriage, we had a pretty daughter. Not only did we love her, but both of our parents did as well. I had such happy days. But one day I ran into someone I never wanted to see again. It was my ex-husband. He came to the company I worked at to ask for an investment. As it wasn't my task, I pretended I didn't see him. But he came to me and talked to me first. "What are you doing here? Do you work here? How can you meet here? Gosh, we can't seem to get away from each other." When he said such things, he thought I was there for menial side chores. He scanned me up and down and boasted that he had started a business after studying abroad and working at a large company. I didn't care what he said and just took the document for my work. Then, when my colleague called me a team leader, my ex-husband looked surprised. "You're a team leader? So, if you have nothing important to say, please leave. I'm busy." Then I left the room. Once he found out I was a team leader, he came to me and acted friendly. I was disgusted by my ex-husband's insidious attitude. "Hey, Mr. Miller, I'm not in charge of whatever you need, so it's no use doing this to me. And you are well aware that we are not in a position to talk like this." "I know, but I was just hoping that you could talk to the person in charge. I think it's a good sign that you and I are in a position where we can help each other out. Stop your gibberish here and don't talk to me like that." I was arguing with him, and then my husband came to have lunch with me. When my ex-husband saw him, he was startled. I guess he thought I'd be alone, not married. After that day, my ex-husband didn't come back to me for a couple of days. I thought I had finally shaken him off. But then a week later, he came back to visit me. "Molly, I heard you're a team leader. Then you are in a higher rank than the person in charge of my work. Please talk to him. I just received an email saying that I can't get any investments. Please, that work is not part of my department. It's none of my business, and stop coming to me. But you can at least talk to him. Why don't you ask your rich parents for investment? Why are you hanging on to me like this? You told me you're on a different level than me. I don't know what you want from me, whose level is much lower than yours. Don't be like that. I'm serious. How can you talk about something that one's life depends upon? One's life? Yes, right. How did you treat my life and my family? What about your mother? Your family has nothing but money, but still pretends to be so noble as if there's a social class. You discriminated against us and we were so cheap about the food. And now what? I'm the one who almost ruined my life because of you. You piece of garbage. You don't deserve to say that to me." And I shook him off. I knew he was a selfish man, but I didn't know he could be this shameless. But the worst part was that my ex-mother-in-law was waiting for me in front of the company to meet me coming out of work. As soon as she saw me, she grabbed my arm and insisted on coming with me to talk. "Let go of me. I have nothing to say to you. If you have anything to do with my son not getting the investment he deserves, let it go. I guess you still hold grudges against us, but I think it would be better for both of us to let it go and get along, don't you think?" At that moment, I heard my mom's voice. "You crazy witch, let go of her." My mom pushed the ex-mother-in-law hard and she fell. "Why do you blame my precious daughter for your son's incompetence? I didn't think I'd ever see you again, but I guess this is my chance to pay you back. I'm gonna finish you today. How dare you bring your filthy habits here?" My mom yelled at her furiously. I tried to calm her down and talk to the mother-in-law. "Look, your son didn't get that investment because his item isn't good enough. And as far as I know, the service he brought was already available in the market. And that's why he didn't get the investment. Our lawyers also said this could become a bigger problem as your son copied other services. Know something before you talk. I tried to grab my mom's hand and went back. Then the ex-mother-in-law begged. Please, that's George's last hope. Is there any way you can help, please? Please, Molly. In the end, the security guards dragged her out of the building. It turned out that the in-laws were sued by the prosecutors for real estate speculation, and were in a complicated situation because they lost the trial. My ex-husband quit his job to start his own business, but he has failed twice already. It seemed that he was trying to get investment from our company through his acquaintance's connection. But that didn't happen either at the last stage of the business review. The ex-husband and his mother came to the company several times after that day. But when my husband threatened to get a restraining order, they stopped coming. I heard they had to sell everything and move to a small town of God knows where. I shouldn't be happy about others' hardships, but seeing them lose everything after humiliating my family for money felt great. Karma does exist. I reminded myself once again that I shouldn't live like them. It's already been 5 to 6 years since this happened. I'm enjoying my happy days with my husband. I resigned from the company now to pay more attention to my daughter's education. My parents are also doing well. I guess I suffered so much when I was young to have this happy life now. This is all my story. Thank you for listening. I wish you the best of happiness and good health. Have a great day. Please leave your words of support and wise advice in the comment section. Likes and subscriptions help me a lot. Have a wonderful day, everyone.